Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers and then we will start our Yog Darshan class, Sadhana Pad. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Tat Savitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Sadgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya मृत्योर्मामृतं गम्य ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 Yog Darshan, that is the name of this scripture written by Rishi Patanjali. 4 chapters, Samadhi Pad, Sadhana Pad, Vibhuti Pad, and Kavalya Pad. So today we are starting the Sadhana Pad. Sadhana means the practice. And right in the first verse over here, he is telling us how important the sadhana is. He is giving us a method to discover our inherent wealth through this sadhana. The wealth which we saw in the first chapter is hidden inside us. How do we dig it out? By doing the yoga sadhana. The core of yogic sadhana is definitely samadhi. That means the sublime state of mental purity and stillness. But in order to bring our mind to that level, we have to do the sadhana. And Rishi Patanjali, he called this sadhana in the initial stages of the sadhana, Kriya Yoga. You can call it a prerequisite for a yoga sadhak, Kriya Yoga. Patanjali is placing so much emphasis on Kriya Yoga. He divided this Kriya Yoga into 3 parts, Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhan. You can say that these 3 are the core of yoga. In combination, they give us our reclaim to the innate wisdom and power of our body. The body which we are not even in touch with it unless it gets sick. Or even the self-luminous mind. How often we pay attention to this devata of ours, which is a mind. Healthy body and a pure mind are essential in any practice, and especially this yoga sadhana. By applying the principle of tapa, just the term which says yatha yogam, that means we got to learn to detoxify our body. Yatha yogam. We have to restore our body's natural balance. Awaken its innate wisdom, intelligence. We have to learn how to fill our limbs and organs with vitality, strength, as well as energy. Together it's called yatha yogam. Even the Ayurvedic practitioners, they call it a Kriya Yoga too. Total renewal. With the tap, we make the body a perfect conduit for our mind. And Swadhyaya, the second part of Kriya Yoga, helps us employ the resources of our body and mind for higher achievement. The principal component of Swadhyaya is silently repeating sacred mantric sounds so that we can train our mind to become quiet and flow inward. This inwardly flowing mind can be further employed to examine our internal states. And that's how we can reflect on whether we are performing our actions purposefully or not. That is Swadhyay. Ishwar Pranidhan is a guiding and nurturing force. When we are anchored in Ishwar Pranidhan, we are able to withstand and eventually conquer even our greatest fear. The fear of losing ourselves, our loved ones, our most cherished possessions, and our karmic impressions. So in this first verse, we'll see how beautifully Rishi Patanjali has put together Tap, Swadhyay, and Ishwar Pranidhan, which is a force behind the Kriya. Remember, without Kriya, there's no yoga. We got to learn how to become fully established in our essential nature. And in order to reach there, this Kriya Yoga is the method, at least the starting point, because that's why the Sadhana Pad is starting with this beautiful verse. Let's look at the verse. Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhanani, Kriya, Yoga. Tap. Literal meaning of tap is to heat, to shine, to transform. And we see that in the philosophical literatures, tap refers to the practices and disciplines leading to acquiring radiance of body or even clarity of mind. And in general term, tap means austerity. A small two-letter word, deep meaning. It could mean penance also. It could mean the undertaking the practices that require putting the body and mind through hardship also. That's tap. Because that's how we expand our endurance, which is needed for our practices. That's tap. Swadhyay, second term. Swa means self, one's own. That means pertaining to the inner reality. Swa. Adhyay, a study. And literal meaning of Swadhyay is actually, Adhyay means chapter. So Swadhyay means study of the self. Understanding each and every chapter of life separately. We are living a story of our life. Don't we see that when somebody dies, people are talking about the story of that person's life? Right now, we are living the stories of our life. We should know which chapter we are in and are we performing what we are supposed to perform properly or not. We have to study that. Study ourselves. A thorough study of ourselves. And it also means a thorough study of the scriptures. Because we learn from what is written in the scriptures by those rishis. Then we see whether we are following those principles, the wisdom of those rishis or not in our particular chapter of life. Ishwar Pranidhan. Ishwar means guiding and protecting forces. Ishwar. We learnt about what Ishwar is in the first chapter. Pranidhan. Pranidhan means complete surrender. Having a complete faith in the guiding and protecting power of God. Ishwar Pranidhan. You can call it a God or absolute reality or truth or Brahma, whatever speaks to you. But having a complete faith, surrender in that power. Kriya Yoga. Kriya is again the effort, action to move with a purpose and goal. And yoga, absolutely still state of mind. So that means Kriya Yoga is an action plan for acquiring a calm and tranquil mind. Or you can understand it this way, to put the theory of yoga into practice. That's a Kriya Yoga. And he just divided that into these three. So he said we have to practice. Practice which consists of three components: Tap, Swadhyay, and Ishwar Pranidhan, in the guiding and protecting power. It's like a 3 steps to self-transformation. And it's not just once you do it and then you let it go. It's a lifelong, or according to Lord Krishna, countless lives it takes. Every time we come into this body, these practices are needed. We even see the gurus practicing this because they are exemplary people for us. God incarnates also when they come. We see them following it. God incarnates, they go to gurus also. Krishna did, Ram did, and others did too. To learn, to study, perform the austerities. So this is the first sutra of chapter 2. And remember that this is a continuation of the last sutra of chapter 1. Because the division of all these sutras are done later on. Actually, it's 196 sutras in aggregate. We saw that first chapter is known as Samadhi Pad. We saw how in that chapter the Samadhis were explained. And according to Rishi Patanjali, Samadhi is the heart of yoga. Because Samadhi grants ultimate freedom. Freedom from all known as well as unknown causes of sorrow. Samadhi. See, Samadhi sounds like a rhymes with Vyadhi. What is a Vyadhi? Vyadhi is a disease. Adhi. See, Adhi, Vyadhi, physical and mental diseases, they give us sorrow. But Samadhi, on the other hand, all the sorrow is gone. Because you have detached from this body, because Vyadhis are what? Physical ailments. And Adhi is a mental ailment. So you have detached from the body also, from the mind also. You have transcended to that level, which is called Samadhi. Samadhi is the foundation of lasting joy. Because it's a freedom from all the fears and also doubts. Because where do the doubts arise? They arise in our intellect. And Samadhi is where you have risen above the intellect also. No more doubts. You have experienced the truth. In Samadhi, mind stands still and it regains its ability to see reality the way it is. And what is the reality? God is everywhere. There's no place where God is not. After Samadhi, if somebody says, my God and your God has not attained Samadhi. In Samadhi, you have seen that oneness. You have experienced it. No doubts left, no fear left. But the prerequisite for attaining Samadhi is to make ourselves completely free from the charms and temptations of the world and keep our focus on only one single reality, the inner self. The prerequisite implies that those who are not established in the virtue of dispassion, vairagya, are not fit to practice yoga as described in chapter 1, Samadhi Path. A disturbed, distracted, and stupefied mind is not fit for reaching Samadhi. It is reachable only by aspirants who have cultivated a one-pointed and completely still mind. Because charms and temptations of the world agitate our minds. And an agitated mind is bound to be disturbed and distracted. Because living with a disturbed and distracted and stupefied mind has become the norm for most of us. So reaching a state of samadhi, as described in the first chapter, is beyond the scope of most people. I hear from a lot of people that if everything is going smoothly, something must be wrong. They are not used to having a mind which is not agitated, which is not disturbed, which is not stressed. But should we just simply forget about practicing yoga because we do not have a disciplined, focused, purified, perfectly still mind? Rishi Patanjali says, no. And that's exactly what Lord Krishna said too. Because when Arjuna pointed out that this mind is so strong, so chanchal, I cannot see any way getting control over the mind. And what did Lord Krishna say? He said that abhyas and vairagya, you can control your mind, you can still your mind. So that's what Rishi Patanjali is telling us. So the practice described in this chapter is for people like us, because we are striving to bring our mind from disturbed or distracted or stupefied to one-pointed, peaceful, as well as still for a longer period of time. He's reminding us that we all have the limitless capacities. Our dormant potentials are immense. Even the most unhealthy person, with the right planning and sustained effort, can become healthy in body and clear in mind. But practice we must do. He is just showing us how to do it, what to do it. According to Rishi Patanjali, putting together a plan to discover our core strength and executing that plan systematically is Kriya Yoga. So this is what this sutra is all about. With Kriya Yoga, you can start practicing from wherever you are. So tap swadhyaya ishwar pranidhan. To start with, tap helps us assess our physical capacity. How long we can stay still in one position. How long we can do some seva. How long we can commit to what we have decided to commit. So tap helps us assess our physical capacity. Swadhyaya, our mental ability and intellectual grasp. And Ishwar Pranidhan allows us to see the depth of our emotional maturity. Because these are the upadhis which we have. Our physical body, our mind, our intellect, our emotions. So together these three help us see our strengths and weaknesses. And with proper guidance, we can have a design and a course of practice that is perfect for our overall growth and development. Not just one-sided, but complete growth. Let's examine these three components more closely. Tap. As I said earlier, loosely you can call it austerity. Austerity is normally associated with strict self-denial. Some people say fasting, or owning no material object, or even living in a cave. or a hut with bare necessities. Or even we see in our scriptures people standing on one leg for years at a time, or even lying on the bed of nails. Non-possessiveness. But this notion of austerity runs counter to the fundamental goal and objective of tap in yoga. Remember that. Because even Lord Krishna called this kind of a tap a tamsik tap, to torture this body. Radiance and clarity are the core of tap. Because if you are hurting our body, if you are going through the hardships, where body is being tortured, there's no radiance. A practice is tap only when it can help us cultivate a radiant body, healthy body. Getting up early in the morning, doing those cleansings, shatkarams, pranayam, asana, that is tap. And while doing it, having a clear mind, then it becomes a yogic tap. So remember, tap is not a torture, it's not a hardship, but rather the ability to awaken the dormant energy within us. A person who undertakes such a practice is called tapasvi. At a practical level, tap entails gathering the fire within. We don't have to create the agni outside, like a panchagni, all our four sides, and sitting between that fire under the blazing sun. That tap is not a yogic tap. We have to learn how to overcome this inertia inside us, the laziness, the sloth. We got to learn to become active. How soon we can get up and help somebody. That is a yogi's body and mind. Not being dependent on others for your salvation, taking charge of your own destiny, putting your intellectual knowledge into practice. That is tap. It's just like when you put a wheel into motion, you have to face the resistance caused by inertia. So in the beginning stages of yoga sadhana, a great deal of energy goes into overcoming this resistance. This body doesn't want to stretch fully. It doesn't want to stay straight for a long time. Mind wants to wander away. So those are initial stages of the sadhana. Sure, there is a little discomfort. And during this comfort is tapa. So with a proper understanding why you are sticking with that practice, that is a tapa. When you commit yourself to do this discomfort without a true understanding of higher goal and the purpose of practice, your mind will perceive that as a torture. But if you know why you are doing it, how to do it, then it's not a tap. That's not a torture. That's a tap then. People who are not familiar with their inner world, sometimes they get afraid. So that's why the company of a guru is important, who can hold your hand keep telling you that it's okay. Because if you know why you are undertaking a practice, what its goal is, what the objective is, how it's helping you to remove the inertia of the body or the confusion of the mind, how it can infuse your heart with the light of higher reality, then this hardship, which is called tapa, will give you and take you towards the source of inner joy. Then you will look forward to getting up early in the morning, doing all those cleansings, pranayams, asanas, or even your dhyan. So, how do you really practice tapa? The first level of practice involves restoring your body. Restoring your body to health. For those with an unwholesome lifestyle, adopting a healthy diet, proper exercise, and also bringing regularity to their sleeping pattern is a big tapa. These days, just putting the phones down, closing your computers, having a stronger mind, that I don't need that after certain hours. These are the gadgets for us to use, but when they start using us, we are derailing from our path. Deeply rooted habits don't like to change. So that's where we have to summon our willpower. We have to learn how to stick to our decision, adopt a healthy lifestyle. That is a beginning point, guys. That's why they say yoga we don't do. Our whole life becomes a yogi's life. Every minute. Our austerity, if you are calling it up austerity, it has to be spiritually enlightened. This level of tapa brings the ecology of the body to a state of balance. Then practice of pranayam takes the tapa to the next level actually. Because pranayam destroys the veil that hides the light, our inner light. The fire of breath burns not only physical toxins, but also the mental impurities. The practice of pranayam helps purify and strengthen the nervous system, awaken the dormant forces of consciousness at different chakras also, and ultimately roasts the seeds of karmas which are deposited in our chitta. Other forms of tap include mantra jap, selfless service, seva. Using your time is the most precious thing, using it to help somebody else. That's tap. Taking some time out, spending some time with the Guru. That is tap. Practicing truth in thought. That is tap. In our speech as well as action. Each of these help us expand our physical capacity so that one day we can experience the limitless powers which are deposited in this body. Those powers, limitless powers, we will see those in chapter 3 actually, Vibhuti Pad. What are those powers? Let's touch upon a little on Swadhyaya also. Self-study. So in the simplest translation, the self-study means to reflect on ourselves. To reflect on who we are, what our true nature is, where did we come from, our purpose in being here, how we relate to others, what our duties are in relations to others, what did we do in the recent past, and even the consequence of that. And what are we doing now? What the future consequences may be. How fulfilling life and its gifts are. Whether or not we will be able to leave this world with grace and dignity. We have to study all of that. Again, as I was saying earlier, this is our story. We should know what kind of a story we are living and what kind of a story we are going to leave behind. The self-reflection finds a purpose and flows in the right direction with a definite goal, especially when it's accompanied by jap of a sacred mantra. Without mantra jap, self-reflection can just become a very low-level intellectual exercise. It is this spiritual energy contained in a sacred mantra that infuses swadhyaya with purpose and meaning. So it is important that the mantra chosen for the jap is sacred. So self-study is also to be accompanied by the study of the right kind of the scriptures. So that's why the swadhyaya, daily swadhyaya is needed. The scriptures which can take us towards the ultimate freedom, towards our final goal. These scriptures are called Moksha Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is that. Because what is the last chapter, the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Through Karam Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Lord Krishna is taking us towards the moksha. Moksha Sannyas Yoga. That's what it's called, the last chapter. This scripture which we are studying, Yog Darshan, last chapter is what? Kaivalya Pad. Kaivalya means moksha. So to study these scriptures is Swadhyaya. Yoga Vashisht we are studying, that's a Mokshastra. Upanishads, they are moksha shastras. So these scriptures set a guideline and ensure that the direction of our self-reflection is correct. This kind of self-study helps us expand our mental ability and refine our intellectual grasp. That gives us conviction that the path we are walking on is straight and legitimate. Otherwise, we keep on switching from path to path and never reach the destination. Ishwar Pranidhan, the third part of Kriya Yoga. Again, it's very commonly translated as surrender to God. And to some people, this kind of a translation gives an impression of giving up and conveys a sense of inaction, passivity, passing the responsibility on God. Such a notion of surrendering to God is misleading and completely wrong. So the first step in practicing Ishwar Pranidhan requires making the effort to comprehend the meaning of Ishwar. Ishwar means unrestricted, unfettered, divine power. It's not only almighty, but also all-knowing. It is auspicious, beginningless, and also endless. It's all-pervading. It is also called the eye of the soul. Unshakable faith in the guiding and protecting power of God is the essence of Ishwar Pranidhan. And what is the second step? Second step is infusing our actions with this faith. And the final step is surrendering the fruits of our actions and not being affected by the results of our actions. The final step. So it's a three-step process. Ishwar Pranidhan is the final test of whether or not we are living in the presence of God. It helps us assess our nature, our beliefs, that how resolute we are in our decisions and how strong we are in our decisions and how strong we are in removing ourselves from the doubts and the worries. There cannot be a more active way of performing one's duty than Ishwar Pranidhan. Work hard with a surrendered attitude in the full realization that we are simply an instrument in the hands of the one who is almighty, who is omniscient, and who is the Lord of all that exists. So you can see the plan of yoga when it's comprised with three elements, tap, swadhyaya, ishwar pranidhan, how beautifully it will help us to detoxify our body, nurture our senses, and purify our mind. So these three together help us cultivate a higher degree of endurance and as well as fortitude. Those are the prerequisites for a sadhak. So obstacles such as disease, procrastination, laziness, doubt, they begin to lose their grip. The practice of yoga that leads to the stillness of mind then becomes natural as well as spontaneous. So this simple looking term, Kriya Yoga, how beautifully Rishi Patanjali has opened it us for us. So Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhan. So 3 parts to it. So we are going to stop it here and start next week with the verse number 2. ॐ पूर्णमदा पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमदाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 ॐ. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.